Moving Iron Podcast is proud to be part of the Global Ag Network. The network is live, so check out globalagnetwork.com for more details and updates. Now on to the show.
Moving iron in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving iron time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving iron.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast Tax Moves with Glen Birnbaum. Glenn, how you doing this morning?
Good, Casey.
So it's almost, you're almost to the finish line, man. You're getting close.
That's correct.
That's right. So we got
April 5th, we got about a week left. So,
you got 10 days of then does it just drop off and you're done for the year and you can do whatever you want? Is that pretty much how it works?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Right on. Okay, so before we got started, we were talking about what we were going to talk about, and you brought up there is some new news on the grain glitch. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. This the grain glitch fix, which was passed, if my memory serves, on March 23rd of 2018. The statute was passed, the fix was passed, and we've been talking about then, we're going to need to get more details of the specifics of how to actually implement some of these things, and they've not issued even proposed regulations. So we literally have no guidance other than what was passed March 23rd, which isn't super detailed. So on April 2nd here, earlier this week, we got news that the proposed regulations have been drafted and they've basically been moved on to another department. It's in the OMB, Office of Management and Budget. So they're basically going to be doing like a second review on them. And so pretty much what this means is probably we'll have proposed regulations released, but it won't be by April 15th. It'll be maybe late April. So it doesn't really help us too much. So I don't know what they'll show. But we'll hopefully have some proposed rules by the end of the month, say, and then there'll be a comment period, and then there'll be maybe a hearing, and then they'll issue final rules, presumably by maybe, say, the end of the year. So at least we'll have some certainty there, but we're just, not sure what the hang-up was. Why did it take a year to do this?
Right.
It is a little bit concerning. Is there a lot of complexity here that, we're not anticipating, and that's why it took so long. So,
yeah.
So good news, but I guess we certainly won't know what these things say by April 15th. So we're just going to have to, either extend returns or go with what we think is best, absent any other guidance. So
yeah, a lot of stuff there that's been an ongoing deal, and it's a big deal because of how it affects the people. Guys out there trading grain, what have you. So it's a big deal when you start looking at that. So, another thing you brought up, we were talking about that before we got started, was you had a guy's combine burned down and how that affected his tax situation. So why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Just a quick story there. We've talked about this issue a few times before, where if you own the combine, it's on your depreciation schedule, and you trade it off, and you get back a leased combine on an operating lease, that's a problem because it's treated as if you sold the combine. These were the rules back in, say, 2017 and prior. That you got to be careful. Now in 2018, the rules are, well, if you trade off a combine, you're going to have that gain, right? No matter what. Whether you sell it or trade it off, you have a gain. But then as long as you're going to be owning the new combine back, as long as that's going to be on your depreciation schedule, you can likely depreciate that combine pretty heavily and then offset that gain. But there's some state rules and things that can come into play. Well, another situation that can come up is if you have a situation like a fire or something, and where you own that combine, right, and you get insurance money, and then you've got to reinvest that money within 2 years, I believe is the rule, or you have a gain. It's like if you don't reinvest the money, right? If you take the insurance proceeds with you and you don't reinvest it, you have a gain. So that's why, kind of a side note, Casey, a lot of times, not in a farm situation, but just in any type of situation with a business, right, where there's a fire or something, a tornado, a lot of times that's a key decision for the business owner, right? Am I going to rebuild or not? If they rebuild, they don't have to pay the income tax. If they don't rebuild and shut down the business, it means they've made the decision that it's better to, cut my losses, take the proceeds and pay income tax on it. So, anyway, it's just kind of interesting that you'll see that sometimes. But anyway, in this situation, the farmer owned a combine, had a fire, and then the agreement that was entered into was an operating lease agreement, which basically is not under the tax code considered to have reinvested the insurance proceeds. Now, we were able to, because of this 2-year rule, we're looking into this still here, but we're able to change that lease agreement to a finance lease. And again, we do have a 2-year window. It's not like you absolutely have to reinvest the proceeds the same tax year that you get it. So we're looking at being able to, avoid this tax gain for the farmer. So it's an issue that we've talked about before, but it can come up in a fire situation too. So again, if you've got a piece of equipment on your depreciation schedule, you've got to basically replace it with something else that you actually own, that has a bargain purchase at the end of the lease, right? That's considered a capital lease, and you're considered to own it. So a lot more rules than what we've got time to talk about here, but it's just another thing to be aware of, to be cautious about how you reinvest that insurance money. You do have to purchase something of similar kind in order to not pay tax on that insurance proceeds.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something you would never even think about that, right? Because before this tax law that changed, how would that have affected your taxes?
Would have been the same, really. Yeah, this would have been an old problem. Again, it's like you sold the combine, and again, under the tax code, you now have a different. You're renting, right? You used to own, now you rent. So your money that you're paying the dealer is not actually principal, right? Where you own the combine, it's rent, and so under the tax code, that would be a problem. So we talked about it where you had to be careful if you own the combine and trade it off on an operating lease. That's a big issue. Still is a big issue today. Right. So there's really nothing new there, but it's just there was a number of fires last fall, particularly in beans in our area. So this is another thing. You don't want to have to deal with the tax consequences. When you're in the midst of harvest, right? And you gotta, you obviously need to get a different combine to finish harvest. The last thing you're thinking about is income tax consequences. So
that's crazy to think about that. Because I bet that doesn't cross many people's minds when they're out seeing that situation happen. So.
Yeah.
All right, so here we are, right up against the clock here, almost to the 11th hour here for your taxes and stuff like that. What are some of the things you see happening right now of some of the tax returns and stuff that you're looking at that are really jumping out there, saying, hey, this is an effect of the new tax code, or this is something that was a lack of oversight or something like that.
Yeah, we've got about a week to go, so we're able to get some returns still out, but we're looking a lot at doing extensions. Hey, how much tax do I need to pay? Right, I can file an extension, but I still have to estimate what tax I owe and pay that in by April 15th. So we're doing a lot of that. We are seeing a lot more of our clients, not itemizing anymore. They're not matched. They're not able to get up to that $24,000 number if you're married. So it is making some of the return preparation easier in that sense because, we're not having to, track down as many things, just because, if you're a long way away from that 24,000. So that's been on the good side, a little bit easier, not nearly as many clients subject to what's known as the alternative minimum tax. So that's been good. But the complexities we're dealing with now is primarily the 199A, the 20% deduction, the pass-through reduction. Because we're working on clients now that have multiple businesses, multiple K1s, and it's all flowing into the personal tax return. And there's ways to aggregate businesses together, and just making sure that we're looking at line 9. That's the line on the 1040 now. That's this new 20% deduction, the qualified business income deduction, and just making sure that number is right because it's a free deduction. You don't have to pay any cash get this deduction. If you make $100,000, there's a chance you can get a $20,000 deduction for nothing. So, we're just trying to make sure we maximize what's on line 9 based on the rules in place. So it's been pretty favorable for some clients because, again, it's a free deduction.
Right.
So,
Yep. Well, lots of stuff out there, Glenn, a lot of things going on, a lot of changes that people need to be aware of, and things are going on. So, talking with your tax advisor and your tax preparer about all this stuff is never been more important. So if folks want to reach out and talk to you, Glenn, or ask you some questions about some of the things we've talked over here over the past year, how would they do that?
Yeah, best to call our office here in Heino, Bangor. Our phone number is 309-694-4251. You can also follow me on Twitter at Glen Birnbaum is my handle.
Right on. Make sure you follow Glenn. There's a lot of good stuff that comes out. When I post these things, there's always a swarm of comments that come through it. So, Glenn, take care of yourself, buddy. We'll talk to you again next week.
Okay, thanks, Casey.
All right.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Moving Iron Podcast, now part of the Global Ag Network. If you'd like to continue any of these conversations, you can hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at Moving Iron LLC. You can also send me an email at movingironpodcast@movingironpodcast.com. You can also visit the Moving Iron Podcast YouTube channel and watch Market Roundup with Chip Nellinger, Sean Hackett, and Angie Setzer. Also, Tax Moves with Glen Birnbaum. Please visit movingironllc.com. Here you can find information, details, and updates for the 2019 Moving Iron Summit in Nashville, Tennessee. If you'd like to support the podcast, you can leave a review and subscribe at iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn Radio, SoundCloud, and globalagnetwork.com. So until next time, let's go move some iron. This is Casey Seymour. Out.
Moving iron in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving iron time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving iron.